and like leaves a message of like, don't get bit. Right. And you're like, oh my gosh, because he's already been bit. The boy's been bit. He's been bit. Everybody been bit.
Yeah.
So I was like,
too late to tell us what not to do.
Yeah. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, well, everybody did. What are we doing? Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're the Ghouls Next Door.
The Ghouls Next Door.
Talking about spooky stuff.
As we've been, known to do for
As we've been doing for many years. Yeah. We are the Ghouls Next Door, a media literacy show from a horror lens where we explore the real life, historical, psychological, cultural, systemic influences behind our cinematic fears. And continuing our zombie series for October, we are retreading old ground, but doing a little more loose. And also just like reminding people to watch this film. It is one of our favorites, like as far as like saying a lot and also being really entertaining and being so truly horror and very unique, and it says a lot while also just being really fun. And so if you haven't watched it before, please check out Blood Quantum.
Yeah. And I will say it does kind of like our critique of 28 Years Later was that it was like telling us what to feel. This doesn't like force you to feel anything. It just shows you the stuff and you feel the emotions, and that's like it really lets you sit with your characters and feel their pain, and it's a really great film. Yeah. Especially this is the second or third time we watched it, and it holds up. Absolutely holds up.
I'm like thinking like it's such a great pairing with a film like Sinners, right? Like if you have like such a film like this one being focused on zombies, and you get the like classic horror monster, but it has a really interesting take on it with the lens that it's coming from. And then you have Sinners, which is, taking a classic horror monster vampire and putting this whole new set dressing on it. And so I think they're a good like double feature to watch. I think it would be
a good weekend.
Be a good group watch. It's relentless though. It is.
That's true.
It is traumatic to say. Where like Sinners is such a slow burn, like we're sitting with things. It's like two movies in one, and the gore really kind of takes a backseat to everything else that's happening when it comes to Sinners.
It's traumatic in a different way,
right?
Yeah.
And it's like accessible to like non-horror people. Now, Blood Quantum is a horror movie. It is gory, it is disgusting, it is tragic, it is heartbreaking, and it just keeps going. It like doesn't take a breath. Like there are little moments, like there's the little these little vignettes of animation, which I find really interesting that he kind of plopped those in there. It feels like we're being told a story. Like this is the version that is being passed down. That's what we saw, right? That's the ending. That's the way that it was portrayed. Whatever that event was, this animation is how we're passing it, right? This is the story that we tell the next people, right? And that's like really fun. And those moments, it's like a breath. But there's like two or three of them, it's and the rest of it is like we gotta go. We're doing it. And like to the credit of like the people who are enduring this, like they are really going. They pick up and they just answer, right? Like they're just going and they're doing it. They're trying to survive. They're taking care of each other and just trying to live. And it really is a testament to like the way that they live pre and post apocalypse. They're always having to go.
Yeah, no, like just like the way oppressive systems work is that even before it wasn't a great time. And then now you're just like, all right, I've had a lot of life that I've had to deal with and put in my pocket and keep walking. And this is just another thing that we're just going to have to put in our pocket and keep walking. So, yeah, there is a level of like, and it's a shame because you shouldn't have to have that like resiliency because it's a trauma response. But there is a level of like resiliency that just is throughout the film. Even in Sinners, like they're just like, this is horrible. But like,
Well, you know,
it's our day, it's our life. You know what I mean? Like,
I've
it's our day to day.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. So,
like I'm seeing people get their faces ripped off or whatever. It's like, I've seen worse, you know? And like by not, you know, classic monsters. Instead, it's like by people supposedly human, you know? Like, I think it's, you know, how I've said before, like, anxiety is my superpower. But I also think, like, having endured trauma can sometimes feel that way, too, because we do have, like, a certain, like, you know, adjustments. Like, our adjustment period is a lot shorter. Like, we get right into it versus some folks who might be kind of thrown for a loop.
It's like, and that's both a positive and a negative to our bodies and minds. As trauma research will tell us, it's still in there, and we're not dealing with it a little bit with the way our body will process it. But we, in terms of our reaction, definitely probably a little less shook or shook-esque, as one would say, than the average person. Yeah, we so the Ghouls covered Blood Quantum in a true Ghouls fashion in what was 2021. It was quite a while ago. And you know, fresh out the pandemic, there was a lot. It was heavy. We did a lot of research. We had, you know, it was one of the first films where I feel like we kind of found our stride. Like that summer of 2020, we were starting to get it. And I think by the time we found Blood Quantum, we were like, oh no, this movie is why we made this show. You know, this movies like this and creators like Jeff Barnaby, rest in peace, are why we wanted to use our show as like a mouthpiece to like amplify these stories and the work that these folks have to do, because it takes so long for them to be able to make it, and then it gets out there, and like we just want to make sure people are seeing it. And so you know, and I feel like Blood Quantum like did get love, absolutely, but like not the same level of love as we're seeing like, I don't even know, like Sinners, like this year got a ton of love. I don't think Blood Quantum got that kind of reception, you know what I mean? Because it was in 2019 that it released, so we were still a little bit in the before time of the pandemic, where everyone was so busy with their lives that they couldn't really stop and like look at the same level, or certain people, especially the zombies of the film. But like, where after that, like we really are able to more.
Well, I mean, people often credit Get Out as being like that resurgence, that like the idea of quote unquote elevated horror, which is like 2017. Wow. 2017, you know, we had Get Out, and it came on the scene, stirred up, you know, the horror world, and really showed people that horror has a message and it has a place. And even then, it was fighting for its space in horror. They tried to put in comedy. I
know lots of people who just straight up haven't seen it yet.
That's crazy. Silly.
It is silly.
I don't get that.
I agree.
Oh, they're wrong.
I recommend it, but they're wrong.
But this Blood Quantum came out in 2019, and it was something that was trying to come out for a long time before that. It was trying to be developed a long time before that. In Barnaby's film Rhymes for Young Ghouls, which we also covered, back. It was the Good Ghouls Gone Bad series. And that was created in 2013, Rhymes for Young Ghouls. And that script was developed after he wrote Blood Quantum.
Wow, yeah.
So it took him all of that time to make this, all the way through till 2019. So if you think about it, like, had it come out when Rhymes for Young Ghouls came out, I think it would have even suffered worse. Like, I think people really wouldn't have, like, caught on to it the same way versus, like, a post-Get Out horror-scape.
Yeah, that's a super valid point.
You know? But I agree. I think the people who know, similar to, like, Get Out and us and some of those, like, the films we treasure, a lot of people who appreciate a film like that and look for that know about it already. But I just think, like, it is, like, if you're going to enjoy horror, like, this is one where you can just enjoy. It's like a decent zombie film. Like, it's spooky.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
even if you're not like, let's learn about it and hack everything.
Right.
It's very good.
Right.
And entertaining.
But it's also like really hard to fully ignore. Because it's being very obvious. It's like, hey, this is what the issue is. And like, you kind of have like at times, like, you know, on the nose with some of those things, but I think that's really on purpose, and it's really beneficial to the story that it is that way. But yeah, I just think like Blood Quantum, when we covered it in 2021, you know, we did a lot, we researched it a lot. So I do recommend checking it out to see, you know, us different, us exploring it way more in depth, and from like a, you know, real Ghouls lens, where we're being edutainment fully, and we're, you know, just working through just some of the heavier pieces of it. Like, I think it really hit us hard the first time, whereas now that we know, and now that we're existing in this space, it's not as like harsh, I think.
Yeah, no, it definitely, like, I was listening to it before we recorded this, and I was like, wow, we were really, like, it's a very impactful film, so like reasonably, but we had not seen it before, like multiple times before recording it. We were so impacted. We were both like, wow, it was a lot. It was hard to watch because like sad and awful things happen. It's a horror movie, it's a zombie movie, and it's covering stuff that is like based on real life and like genuinely upsetting. But we were like both like post-pandemic, like sensitive and like so raw, like in it, like we were talking about it, like very sensitive. And it's just funny, this watch through, like I was definitely impacted, but we knew it was going to happen. So it wasn't as painful to rewatch it because we were prepared, I guess, mentally.
I will say it is like, it's a rough one. So if you have any reservations about, pun intended a little bit there, about like intense gore, baby death, the dog dies, I'm sorry, like people be dying, lots of death. Death is
and
happening.
Like, doesn't pull the punches with who is dying. Like it's definitely like,
everybody
if you thought they wouldn't kill them,
nobody has protagonist armor.
Maybe a dog, a fish, I don't know. Like, no one's safe.
No one is safe.
Penises, no one's safe.
Nothing is safe. It is some of the like, it has some scenes where I'm like, wow, that is so rad. Like, it's because it's just so vicious. I will say, like, I think we haven't been shook by like gore and like death that way since we watched When Evil Lurks. I think this,
I was literally just gonna say the film with the popcorn.
So the Popcorn Child, and so like When Evil Lurks is the same level. Like, if you can endure When Evil Lurks, you could absolutely endure Blood Quantum. They are fair. The same par of like
level of gore.
Traumatizing people all over the place, and we're not pulling any punches, and it's gross and it's exciting. Like, they're like, as someone who loves gore, you know, we have this conversation all the time, Kat and I, where we're the difference is there. Like, I'm you know, I love an absurd amount of blood. I love really crazy scenes, and I love like when I can see that like there's excitement when it was made. You know, when someone got creative. And there was quite a few scenes in this where like somebody's getting like sawed in half, they fall through the ceiling and he was like half a guy, and like stuff like that, and I'm just like, that's so rad.
Chopping up people with a sword.
Like, this is so fun. You know, like those moments like really add some levity to what is otherwise a really heavy, like hard film. There's just these moments of really pure like horror joy that I think you as anyone as a horror lover might find pleasure in. Before we get too far, let me tell you what Blood Quantum is about so that we can...
We're yapping, it's fine.
It's October, we're just being Jill. Blood Quantum, like we said, is from 2019, and it's about a zombie virus decimates all of Earth's population except the Micmac community of Red Crow, and it's directed by Jeff Barnaby. And that's where like the big difference is, right? Like when we're thinking of Sinners, and something that people really enjoyed was this like comparison of you know, this white vampire showing up on the stoop, trying to steal not only the lives, but like the history, the culture, the everything of these Black folk. We have this film where we're presented with a zombie apocalypse that's decimating the world, except the Indigenous folk in Canada, and as far as I know, it could be other Indigenous places, but this specific community is immune to the zombie virus. So it was very specific for Barnaby that his intention was that, like, you know, for classic zombie films, people are afraid of zombies, right? And then you're really afraid of people, right? Yeah. That's always the case, right? We're actually afraid of the people. And sometimes the people is specifically men, right? We're talking about 28 Days Later. Or it's just like those types of people who are going to take advantage of a bad situation. Negan, I don't know, you know, literally any other Negan, zombie lore, right?
Or people who are, as you're about to probably say, just selfish and who will not do what is best for the greater good, in that if they get bit, they're not going to tell somebody.
Right.
Or if they have a loved one who's bit, they're not going to tell somebody until they're already in the camp. And then now they're zombies and you've ruined it for everybody because you couldn't cope. And now we're in a mess.
Right. And I think, like, for Barnaby, it's like it's specific that these Micmac people are not afraid of zombies. They're not. They're going out there. They're doing their rounds. They're like, okay, they're covered in bites, right? Like, after they find that out, that they are immune, they're like, okay, you get bit, whatever, but I got rations, you know? They are not afraid of the zombies at all. They're afraid of the white people because they could be carrying the disease. Yeah. And they could be bringing it to their safe space.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's really, like, important and specific. In Blood Quantum, we have the beginning is classic zombie film where it's the day of, like, the situation, right? We find some zombie fish. People are getting bit. Things are acting crazy. We're getting all kinds of calls to the police. The ambulances aren't working. It's like, what's going on? And then you get, like, Trailer. His
name's Trailer.
Ex-girlfriend, his ex-partner, calls and, like, leaves a message of, like, don't get bit, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, because he's already been bit. The boy's been bit. He's been bit. Everybody been bit. Yeah. So I was like,
too late to tell us what not to do.
Yeah, like, the first time I watched it, I was like, well, everybody did. What are we doing? And then it does a chime jump to the future where we're seeing that they are immune, and that it's actually everybody else who is sick. So it does kind of do this twist where, you know, you had this place, the reservation, which had been this space that they had been cast out to, that they had been confined to, that they had been isolated from, you know, quote unquote, regular society, right? For
their land was stolen and they were forced to be on this new land that they had no attachment to or worth of. Yeah.
And it's, you know, and it's impoverished. It has, you know, less rights and protections. It doesn't have the same like police force or laws. Like, there's so much to it that makes, like, the reservation feel like its own, like, outlaw country that was neglected, and it was like, that's the Badlands. We don't want to be going there. Now, that's the safe haven. Yeah. Now that's the only place you could be okay. Now you trying to get inside here.
Guess who now feels entitled to the only land that is safe now?
Oh, God.
That they didn't want before. And we're fine, like, sequestering all of the indigenous population within. But now that it's safe, now we have every right to that land, is what they're thinking.
Right.
Yeah. Like, because they already felt that way. Taking the land.
And now it's a time of crisis. So, you know, you have to be nice to us. And I mean, that happens even without a zombie apocalypse, right? Like, in Florida, there are historically Black communities that exist in the middle where they're not being plagued by hurricanes. They aren't going to go underwater. And so now all the white people are trying to buy up that land and kick out all these people who were forced there in the first place because it wasn't the beachfront property. So all that to say is like it's not like it doesn't take a big leap to understand that this is what would happen, right? And what we see is like when we get that jump in time, we have a character, Lysol, who is a troubled young man who is the first son of Trailer, and he's
never given a chance.
Never given a chance. My heart hurts, and it's like, it's not often, I will give for all the credit to give to Blood Quantum, it is not often that a villain could be as cruel and like perplexing in a lot of ways as Lysol, and I still feel hurt for them.
Yeah,
you know, like
the empathy's still there because you know that they were harmed as a child. Well, like they didn't get the love and safety that they needed growing up.
Yeah, it really, it's like you watch him being failed the entire film, and so when we get to the point where he does become a villain, you're kind of like, well, like at the same time, it's like he is really awful. There really is no like redemption.
Absolutely. He does
sure.
lots of harm.
Like
absolutely.
hurt people, but that's like that's just an understanding, not an excuse. Right? And so like, you know, but we
understand why, but we don't accept.
Right. It still is awful. Right. But the first thing that we see is him like assaulting a zombie. Like he's spray painting a zombie. Like that's how little zombies care to him. And then these group of settlers come in, these people who are trying to be saved come in. It's a bunch of white people. Because Lysol's brother Joseph, who's Trailer's second son, who they're given all the chances in the world, they're like, we're gonna get this one right. Yeah. He deserves better than me and you. It's like, how dare you?
And it's like, what's wrong with this other boy? Like, what's wrong with this child? Just love both your kids, bro. Why? Yeah,
you know. Literally. Anyway, I get whatever. Joseph has a white girlfriend who was pregnant at the start of this, and now she's like super pregnant. And she's bringing people in. She wants to help survivors. She's trying to do her part to save people. And it's one of my favorite parts, but it is so on the nose, is that like they come in and there's a guy and he has a girl wrapped in a blanket. Yeah. And she's a zombie. Like she's going to be a zombie. Yeah. She's sick. And he's like bringing in sickness in a blanket.
Yeah.
Come on. And this is when like Lysol and them do get on edge. It's like, you know, they're fighting zombies. They're like, whatever, zombies are nothing. Yeah. The Zeds or whatever they call them, they're dead. Yeah. But these people are a threat. And you keep letting them in.
Are a threat. And like, the people inside, like he's already mad that we have all these people who can become infected inside too. Because it's like the zombies are safe if you encounter them in smaller numbers. But if you bring all of them in and then you infect like a horde of them, like, people are going to die. Right. So he's not wrong at all. Like he's like, absolutely, like the hesitation is reasonable. And it's also like, the dad wwho brings the child in the blanket, like, it's so on the nose in the way that you were saying, like, he feels so entitled to their place. He's immediately like, what do you mean? Like, you're going to help us. You must help her. Yeah. And then, like, when they can't, and they're like, this is how it is. Like, I'm really sorry you lost your, but literally every single person has lost somebody. Like, everyone you will meet has lost people. So, like, bond with the other people who have lost someone because it's a universal experience in this world. And then he obviously can't cope, and I get it's his kid, but like still he feels so entitled to their space and like is very like aghast at them, and like I get it, his kid had to die, but like he ungrateful at the same time too. Like they are letting him into this space,
which is crazy,
despite the fact he tried to bring
an infected person
into the space. Like, very ridiculous. But on like bar for bar, what would probably happen, right? And historically has. So as Gabe said, for the blanket.
And I think like there's also this element of like what Lysol is upset about and what he preaches throughout this film is, you know, we let these people in and they're okay now, but they all have the potential to not be okay. They all have the potential to turn, right? Like all of these white people are essentially a ticking time bomb. Like it just takes one. It takes one and then they're all messed up and now we are at risk. And it's another mouth that we have to feed. that might end up biting us. Right? Like, and historically been biting us, right? Like horrific things, like especially Barnaby in his works like Rhymes for Real Ghouls really cover some terribly horrific, tragic history, specifically of Canada, that is still literally being unearthed, right? So like Lysol holds a lot. Like he holds like his personal tragedies. He holds him being failed by his father, his mother, being essentially given up on and continuously told that he's worthless.
Yeah. And then like on top of that, like all the generational trauma that he's had to endure without like any guidance or like direction for it to go.
Right.
Or healing, like provided by the guidance of his parents that like ideally would be the ones to like help him heal and process that. He never had a chance. It was really sad. It actively hurts watching him. And like up until it gets real bad, you are like, bro, we get what you're saying. Like if anything, they're gaslighting you. And it's like zombies are like the only time where like this is the appropriate reaction. And it's like they should be listening to you because it's not. And it's like, I guess it also ties back to like the lens of like the whiteness lens of like, I remember reading that like he was scared that white people wouldn't get the film because a lot of the times they're like, you should help people and we need to remember our humanity in times of crisis. And it's like, yes, white people need to remember their humanity because historically they have not done that and actively harmed people. And in situations like this, where it's like, why are people wary or like of hospitals or vaccines? It's because specifically in like BIPOC communities, they have been oppressed by hospitals and like bodies destroyed by hospitals and like other things. Like there's a reason to fear, even if we maybe don't agree with the actions that come as a result of that. You have to understand the historical context and you have to understand the why of why Lysol is like this and why, even though he cannot be redeemed in the things that he does, that his actions had reasons that were like very deeply painful and like matter, and that he wasn't entirely wrong and like that was not addressed by the people around him. So.
Yeah, I mean, even when he like is first like on his like soapbox moment, letting in these folks who do like mess up, like he was not wrong.
They're all everyone she brings, every single one of them is a problem. Degrassi brings is a problem.
Yeah, and like he's saying that he spells it out very plainly. He's like, we are at risk, we are in danger every single time we do this, and I think there's like there's I think it's Joseph's mom who says like he's right. Maybe it's not her because she's not out there. Somebody like dismisses him.
There's a girl who's like friends with him,
and she's like, but he's correct.
Yeah,
she's like, yeah, like she tells him to go off because he's like, he's up in arms. But she also says like, but he's correct. He's right. Like, you can't really be that mad at him.
You can't keep bringing these people over on the boat.
Right.
Also a historical note.
Right.
And then have their disease-filled blankets enter our camp.
Right.
Like, you can't
do that. And I also think, like, there is this whole level of, like, what obligation does this community have to open their doors? Like, to what? Like, do they have to do
with
that?
The historical president. They don't, like... They don't.
Right.
That community has actively harmed them.
They didn't... Like, this space they were cast into was like they've been neglected. They were forced there, right? They were already made the outsiders. They were made the other.
Residential schools in Canada existed for a very long time, created by white communities in Canada.
Right. So, like you did that. You did that to them. And now you're like, okay, we're just going to look at it like, like bygones be bygones because there's zombies around.
In here. Yeah.
And it's just, and now there's like a real clear present threat. Like they have to like, every time they let in a white person, they're actively like having to like put their own safety at risk. And they have to, in the people that they love, safety at risk, and to their detriment. Like we see that. But it's just like, I think stories like this resonate because you want, like, everyone wants to think of themselves in times of crisis as a hero, or someone who like steps up. And we have talked a lot about how often when it comes to our community, like we show up for each other in times of crisis, right? But that's not to say that like there aren't people who take advantage of those things and that there are people who aren't showing up. And it's like structures or the people in power, people who have benefited from power that generally like cause issues, right? Like I just watched the I think 3-4 part documentary about Hurricane Katrina. And like the only reason that any of the people who survived was because of their community. Because the police weren't coming out. The entire country of America was not. The president was just flying over and being like, "That looks bad." It was literally like community members, like grabbing a boat and going and checking on their neighbors and grabbing people. Like that's the only way people survived, and just for a little bit, and then they're having to go get food and all those things. Like we have to take care of our own. And the problem comes when somebody else is trying to get up in here too. And it's just like, where you been? How are you going to help? Are you going to contribute to this community that you just showed up to? Like you're gentrifying the zombie apocalypse. Like what are we like doing right now? Literally, and it like, I think it's like really, you know, some of it is so obvious and like, I think it's brilliant for that because I appreciate that it was doing that. Like he was like, no, I'm going to make this. But it's also really like truly a horror film. But yeah, I think Sinners is such a great coupling with this. Even in this situation of like, we're not letting them in. Because like, even before they knew that Remick and his, you know, pick poor Robin Clean crew were vampires. They knew someone was. They're like, I'm not letting these white people in, right? Like, he's
like they're clearly
sinister.
being sus.
Like, and why are you trying to get in here, right? Like, there's so much sus, and like, I think what was sinister about Remick isn't just that he's a vampire, he's trying to turn people, but he was trying to take from them. He wasn't just trying to take their life. They're going to live forever. He was trying to take their culture. He was trying to take their history. He was trying to rewrite that and absorb it into himself. And like, that was a threat that they were picking up on. And so in this, Lysol is picking up that similar threat of like, you are a threat to our community, not just because you're like a ticking time bomb and there's zombies, but because like historically you have harmed us. And I don't have any reason to believe that you wouldn't do that.
This time. And especially like with how you come up and like act like you're so entitled to the space. And it's like, I forget her name in the film, but the actress Olivia Scriven, like she plays it so well where it's like she had good intentions, but actively puts the people who she says she loves in harm's way. And that's like so on the nose and classic. Like she just really just doesn't get it. And Lysol's like, bro, I get you're in love. That's great. No problem with that. But she needs to stop bringing people here. Right. She needs to stop like hard on her, like white savioring the community at large. Yeah. Like, she needs to chill because she's going to harm us and you, who like, even though I'm doing, I'm very rough around the edges and I'm not showing it great. I care about you, bro. Right. Like stop letting her put you and our family and our culture in harm's way. Yeah. And
there's also like, so with Joseph and his partner, I also forget her name, just fitting. But in the beginning when they're in the doctor's office, you know, and it could be, you know, assume that she's there for an abortion or because they're teen pregnancy.
Her name's Charlie.
Charlie, yes, thank you. It's the name of my cat. But they're maybe getting an abortion, who knows? But he asks her in it, like, are you ashamed of me? Like, why haven't you told your dad, like, about us and stuff? And she has to, like, she's like, no, I'm ashamed of him. And she, like, kind of plays it off of, like, no, it's her dad that she's ashamed of because he's, like, racist and white and whatever. But there's clearly this, like, power imbalance of, like, he's expecting, like, of course, I'm the thing that you would be ashamed of. Like, our baby, you would be ashamed of because it's mixed. And, like, that power shifts to now she's a threat. Now she's a threat to that baby, right? Like she's thinking
now
like
she's
my
the one
genes
that people look at. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one who people look at. It's her genes that are threatening this baby. And it's like she's the thing that like they're ashamed of, right? The power becomes imbalanced. And so she like works hard to get back up on that. And I think that's why the white survivor or the white savior thing comes out with her, because she's trying to like make up for feeling kind of like off kilter by this new imbalance where she is now the threat. She is now something to be ashamed of, and she doesn't know how to wrestle with that because she's never had to be that before.
Yeah. And the existence of her is interesting too within like the context of Blood Quantum, because like by definition, the whole idea is like when we were talking about it last time, is that Blood Quantum is like the level of native blood that you have, and that is how you are able to gain access to the reservation and be able to like qualify as an actual quote unquote indigenous person. And the creation of that was done to basically they describe it as a rock, and you chip away at the rock, but you can't ever make the rock whole again. So by having babies outside of the native community, you're diluting your blood quantum, which could make your children not native enough in order to continue to live on the reservation. So in a similar way, she's worried that that's true, even though that's not how it works, but that's true, and that the baby will be in danger for getting the zombie illness because of the fact that she is white and is not immune to the illness.
Yeah, and like the blood quantum is like, you know, the long-term strategy to eventually make it so that there will be no one left who has a right and a claim to the land. Because if they are if you are diluted enough and your blood quantum level doesn't qualify, then you are no longer like able to claim that history and that land that the government owes you for the atrocities of the past. And so that's why it exists. And I remember Barnaby even remarking that his daughter doesn't qualify because of her blood quantum level. Because it's just like that. But it's because it forces you into that further isolation too. It makes it a fearful thing to interact with, which like there's two levels to that, right? There's a version of that is from the native perspective, which is one of self-preservation. There is a fear of essentially Lysol saying, you know, like they have done so much to us, right? That it is like, we can't do that. We have to stay with each other. We have to preserve us. We have to maintain this. And then there's the other side, which is like the white supremacy, like, you know.
We just want to get out of treaty obligations eventually and not give people the land that they deserve because we've stolen from them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's also like they don't want to be mixed, right? Yeah. Like they want pure white avian blood. Aryan blood. Aryan blood. So there's also that level of like, we don't want you to mix with us either, so we're going to make you afraid of it. So there's like two very like conflicting influences behind that like thought, and I think that's really interesting to see play out in these characters, because like I said, like Lysol is like, I get it, you got this girlfriend, but she's dangerous, and he's just like he does not want that, he does not believe in that, and it's a real struggle, but at the same time it's like, you got to love who you're going to love. And in the beginning, the opening title card of the film features a ancient settler's proverb that says, "Take heed to thyself, that thou make no treaty with the inhabitants of the land, for when they whore themselves to their demons and sacrifices to them, you will eat their sacrifices. And when you choose some of their daughters for your sons, they will lead your sons to do the same." And it's essentially like, do not interact with those demons because they will corrupt you, and they'll corrupt your line, and they'll continue to do that. And so we cannot cross these things because we're going to end up like not ourselves anymore. We will end up demons. Which is, again, that's why he titled it Blood Quantum, because he was being on the nose. And I think it's really, it's genius to name it Blood Quantum, because then it inspires people to be like, what is that? And when you search Blood Quantum, you do get the film, but you also get like NPR, where you get like articles that are about
like the definition of what
quantum,
it actually is.
Right. And so you're forced to actually learn. And I think like for all the people who got excited every time, like, you know, I remember The Watchmen had that whole episode about Tulsa. Like when that happened, or like Lovecraft Country or Sinners or like any of these where like we're showing the history of like a really horrific event, and then people start Googling it. People start looking it up. People start investigating
like, oh my God, that was real.
Like why this term? What does this mean? That's always a part to me that I think is like a strength for filmmakers and creators, and it's something that like it's easy to do. Like this name is so easy, it's so perfect, and it flows so like this film should be studied in the same classes you're studying Get Out. Period.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like if you are studying horror and like psychology, you're talking about horror and history, you're talking about like horror and just like media literacy, this film has to be on your syllabus.
Yeah. And I will say something that like is concerning for when I was watching, which Gabe, I texted you about, because you had the quote in your film. But when I was watching it on my side on Tubi, it was just a black screen. It did not have the quote. There were no words. So it's like thinking of the way streaming services will manipulate media in a way that is genuinely like erasure. Like the, you know, how in the one film they like removed the rebellion quote or whatever. It's like the streaming services are doing that. And I witnessed it in real time when I was watching on Tubi. But you were also watching on Tubi and had it. So it was a really bizarre thing. But it is like... the media, even in the media that matters, sometimes it will try to erase it to make it more palatable. At least that is what happened on my side. And it was really weird because I remember the quote. Like I remember seeing it the first time we'd watched it. And it was just a black screen for like 2 minutes. Yeah. And I was like, is my movie broken? Yeah.
And you were like, uh-oh. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. But like, I mean, that it does happen because it is like a heavy-handed quote. And it sets a tone for the rest of the film for you to be prepared for like what is going on here.
And I see like your other quote that is very on point too, which is what I was trying to say earlier and I didn't say so eloquently. But that he was saying that we can never restore the rock. We can only pile stones upon one another. And that's like in reference to the like dilution of the blood as they would describe it, and trying to evaluate who would qualify as having enough blood quantum to enable them treaty rights. Right.
And I will say I kind of appreciate that quote because I see the flaw in it versus like the chipping away at the rock is such a very pen intended concrete way to say like it is being diluted and that's a problem. But stacking rocks is not a problem. That's a way you get things. That's how you make a dam, first of all. Second of all, like uneven rocks is what we put in the train tracks so that they don't get broken. Like that's how they sustain themselves. Right. Having different shaped rocks is really important too. So like, I think it's like that specific quote, which I did grab from an article was that you can't restore the rock, you can only pile up rocks, but I think that's important because it is essentially the same. It's just different. It looks different, but I think it speaks to a very narrow point of view of us thinking like, oh, we can't corrupt our blood because now our rock looks different. And it's like, the rock's going to look different though. Like sometimes the rock has to look different. And I think that's like, the fact that spoilers, we're at the end of our episode here, spoilers, that Joseph and Charlie's baby that is mixed and is a cause of concern. And to the point where his mom is bit and it becomes a zombie in the middle of childbirth, is not a zombie. Yeah. She's not a zombie. And I think that is really powerful. And it is Barnaby letting us know like that cautionary tale and like not letting them in, as valid as those fears are, it's not like, it's not real, right? It's not sustainable. Like at the end of the day, we are going to let people in, right? We are going to take care of each other, and you are going to take, like, you don't have to, it shouldn't be expected of you. And it sucks that that's how it is. But there's still like a beauty in continuing, like you are still just as much like your culture.
A part of the rock. Yeah.
And a part of that rock, even if you have other sediment in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's like, there's that whole idea where it's actually like very damaging when you do have mixed kids to like use the percentages. Because then they like think I'm not a whole person, like I'm a piece of this and I'm a piece of this, and so I don't feel like I am a part of that community. And it's like, I get it if you're like 0.0.16 of something, you know what I mean? Obviously, like you shouldn't be like volunteering or auditioning for native parts if like you're the tiniest little teeniest percentage that ever existed. But like the rocks, as you said, stack on top of each other, and they all have a role and a place in the community within like reason. And then like it is actually very damaging to be like, you aren't enough of this, and now you must be separated from your family, like your literal parents are allowed here and then you're not. Like that's how does that help the community? It doesn't. And that's intentional. Because the government is gonna do what the government's doing, unfortunately.
That was a full sentence. Because the government. Full sentence.
We could stop it there. It's just like, ugh.
Right. Yeah, I think it's like, you know, what I'm thinking is, I agree, when we have some of those people who are like, I'm 1% Cherokee or whatever, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about, though.
And it's also like,
I'm not talking about Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender live action.
Yeah, right. And it's like, you know, we're not talking about Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas out there. Like, and it's also like a question of like, okay, where do you think that percentage was? Like, what do you think was involved with that percentage?
There,
you know,
actually?
Right? Like anyone who's like a small percentage.
Through, like, positive interactions?
Do you think that? Or let's think about the time
oppression. Period. Yeah.
Probably something violent. Yeah. Like those things for sure, right? But I think like if like you have like you know, a cultural identity that is not the 1% weirdness, right? Like for all your fascination of, you know, getting your 23andMe and being like, I'm 1%, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay.
That's great.
That's lovely, right? But like, I do think that like,
mean,
as we're moving forward in the world, like every culture is transforming, right? Every line, you know, is getting mixed in with something else. And I think it's really important and necessary that we don't pick and choose who gets to like in those cultures to carry on that culture, right? Like if there's a language and there's a history, there are stories, there's a belief system, there's an art form, like those things that make up what a culture is. If you're picking and choosing who you pass those on to because of like a percentage, you risk that just disappearing forever, right? Yeah. Instead it's like, okay, maybe you're like half Indian, or you know, you're half like being like in America you're half Cherokee or you're half Blackfoot or something, you know, but you should still be able to like, you know, carry that on. And I think of I recently went to Puerto Rico, which is like my homeland, right? And I was getting a tour, and our tour guide was really funny because he was just talking about how very mixed Puerto Rico is specifically. One, we've had a lot. We're an island. A lot of people have been stopping there, right? We're very closely related to the Dominican Republic. We're also very closely related to West Africa. Like we have our indigenous people of Puerto Rico, were the Taino, are very closely related to the Yoruba, like the belief system are very similar, same like gods or practices, like a lot of that is similar to like West African, because they were coming here, whether like on slave ships or on their own ships, like it was happening. And there's so much like like you can't point at a Puerto Rican and be that's a Puerto Rican, because we all look so different. Right? Like just being in the space, it was beautiful, because like when you're on the island and you look around, it's like everyone looks different, right? Like look at like Bad Bunny's tiny desk. It's full of Puerto Ricans and they all look different. It's like you got a guy who looks like a black guy, and they got light skin over here, you got like tall, you got short, you got brown, you got like every aspect of it. And so my tour guide had this like quote that he said that people say, which is essentially like, he was like, we can't really be racist here. First of all, you can't, because it's a system. But like prejudice even, he was like, because they have a saying where it's like, well, where's your grandma from? Because they're like, if you go so far back enough, you're something. You're something else. You know, you're no one's one. Like, you as a Puerto Rican, you're not just a Puerto Rican. You're a bunch of things. Yeah. And so like, to me, that was like a really like beautiful like approach to something that could have been like really stressful. But I think like that specifically is what I hold on to when I'm thinking of like, you know, as someone who is mixed with a lot of things, I always have struggled with that, like, which part of me do I have any right to? Yeah. And so like, I think when we can embrace those parts of ourselves and then like allow ourselves to be a carrier of that history and that knowledge, we can preserve it. We can continue to preserve and protect it. But like, there's so much that's happening in this story, like against just like the fun zombiness of it. Like there is like so much generational trauma. There's so much of like, you know, this poor boy, but he's so right, you know? And I think like, for so I think even for some folks, like he's even seen as like a hero in a way, you know, because he just told them, he was like, this is what's going to happen. And then he was hurt so badly, and he had no right to be hurt like that. He did not deserve that. And here's the thing. What happened to him was so preventable. Why do we take people on their words? First of all.
First of all. Check. Strip search. I don't know. It's upsetting for the people receiving it, absolutely. But you need to know if people are bit before you put them around other people. Right. And that is a fair ask, a fair expectation to put upon somebody who's trying to come up in your space. Right. Like, have it be of someone who can make them feel safe during the process. Don't be gross or make it like a traumatic time. But like, you need to check to make sure people are not bit. Like, there should be a medical exam upon entry. Of some kind to make sure you don't have someone hiding a bite under their shirt. Like it's not. That's crazy. Yeah, because that was so preventable. It was like, so preventable, just through like reasonable caution. Like there was no that was the problem, is that there was just not enough caution. And I'm not saying like kick him out, but you need to see first, right, before you let him in. Quarantine bare minimum. Like if you're not checking people down, you put them in a place they can't get out for at least a week. You know, like and then like if they turn, we can kill them. You know, they're isolated. They're not out there. So like he was failed like in society, like pre-pandemic, pre-zombie pandemic, but also post, like that was a completely preventable situation, that tragedy. And so I understand that anger that he has been warning them. He's been crying out. He's been his canary in the coal mine. He's been like, y'all are messing up. And then they hurt him by like the very thing that he was telling people to worry about. And then he was a victim of it. And he was like, nah, I'm done. Like, I'm about to show you all that I was right. Like, I have to be vindicated in this. It has to come back around. And he just really needed to hurt the people who brought that pain to him. Yeah. And that's the only piece that's like, oh, it's such a shame. Because it's like, if they just cared about him and how he deserved and like loved him, he would not have gotten to that place. It's just like, and then like all those people would not have been hurt. And it's like not okay. He should not have done that. But like we understand how he got there. And it's just, it's just so hard to watch.
And he wasn't alone. I think that's a big thing too. Is like he had people who believed in him.
He had the guy, yeah.
So it's like clearly what he was saying was he was spitting truth, and people were resonating with it. Even as dark and dim and horrific as it was, like he was speaking to somebody.
And like you have to address that to heal from it. Like you can't just be like, it'll go away. It won't.
Right.
What is the K-pop Demon Hunters? They say like you have to face it in order to heal, essentially, in the one song. They say it lyrically and poetically. But the part of the song is like you can't fix it if you never face it. That's what they say. And let the past be the past, like it's weightless. Like you have to like learn from your stuff and face it even if it's uncomfortable. You gotta get a train. You gotta put all the rocks of the different shapes in the train tracks, and it'll make the train stronger.
It sustains the train.
Yeah. And if they just let him be a rock that was with the other rocks and loved the rocks, then they would have been fine. But no.
He was from the rejected box for some reason. I don't get it. Like every time I'm like, why?
It's just like, it's a weird human thing where we just like... It seems to be the like universe, like obviously like lots of people will love and care for each other,
right?
But there is like a thing with hierarchies and like wanting to classify people, and it's like seen in all cultures, even though it's really frustrating. It doesn't make any sense. Just love each other and just be kind.
Yeah.
But people like anthropologically do love to classify and group and then just be mad at other groups for arbitrary
so they
reasons
could feel superior.
That don't make sense. Yeah.
But it was like I felt personally stabbed every time they either said that Joseph deserved better or like we need to save Joseph, and like Lysol's right Not there once. And like every time they dismiss Lysol, and so I really like he is the most understandable villain, like one of the most, because there's definitely others, but like he really is like again, spoilers, his dick gets bit off. That's
horrible.
That's horrible. That's his manhood, right? Like that's so
his
tied
legacy
to him.
Is done.
His legacy.
Yeah. He can't even make up for the bad dad that he had by becoming a dad in the future now. It's gone.
He has been like ruined. Like and that's such an emotionally like jarring, like just ripping apart your like identity, your future in one moment, and it's all because they let that person in there to do it.
Yeah.
Also, why should do that? Why should
didn't
trying
check
to be
them? Didn't check. Look under the clothes. It was like literally right here.
Yeah.
It was like next to her.
It was like her. It was so
easy. It was her stomach. It was her stomach. But like you literally just be like, lift your shirt. They wouldn't even have to strip search her. Like check the obvious areas where you're able to move clothing away without it being like oppressive or upsetting to anybody.
They just had to care.
Violated.
They just had to care for a second.
Yeah. And they didn't care. That's the problem.
Right.
It's fine.
It's not fine. It's sad.
Poor Lysol, man.
I get it. It sucks. I was like, man, he's awful. You know, and when we were thinking about like Zom 100 with like their big bad who like, and he did like the stuff he did doesn't make sense to me, right? Like that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like he was just really lost. He was just evil. Like, you know, like I don't get that one, right? This one I get, and it hurts so much more. And that's why I just think like Blood Quantum, it's not like a fun watch time, like we're gonna watch it a bunch. It has moments that are really fun, but it's really heavy and hard. Every time I watch it, I'm like, woof, this is a lot to take in, but it, like in such a good way. The same thing with like Sinners. Like I'm watching Sinners, I'm having a good time, but I'm like, okay, I need a minute. You know, like I'm not like,
you need to process it, and like feel the feelings. It's a lot of heavy emotions and historical information that is really hard to like unpack. Right,
but I think like you know, I think Blood Quantum will always be at like the top of like our appreciation of films, and it will be always a highly recommended horror. And I think it fits so perfectly into the things that we love and appreciate about horror. And he did such a great job. And you know, I am, you know, forever saddened that we lost like a brilliant minds like Jeff Barnaby. Just as a person and as a creator, you know, I think he was always doing really great things, and he was speaking up for his community and his history and bringing a lot of things to light that I think, we, as time goes on, people will learn to appreciate even more. So, rest in power, Mr. Barnaby. But let us know what you think about Blood Quantum. Have you seen it? Are there other, big horror monster, also cultural criticism, horror movies that you love and you think the Ghouls would love? Let us know. What are your favorite zombie movies? I would love to see
some underrated gems.
Yeah. Reach out, tell us what they are. And yeah, let us know. We're almost done with October. We're surviving. We're doing it again. It's our anniversary month, We're on season 9 of Ghouls. So it's really, 8 years of this is crazy.
I would also just like to say kudos to both of us who are really post illness.
Yeah. I'm sure you could hear that.
We did great. I think we did great. I'm biased because I love us. But that's fine.
Yeah, you let us know. But yeah, don't get married.
Delete your kids.
Yeah, that lady did. She ate her kid. She literally ate her kid. Or your kid is mixed. Ours will be.
Yeah.
So they'll
be wonderful.
So they're going to be beautiful, and they're going to be lovely. Their own rocks. On top of
each other.
We're going to have our own little dam. We're going to have our own little train track stability.
Yeah. We're going to make the world stronger by existing.
With every rock.
Our unique self. Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Oh, my goodness.